Hello and welcome to the second lecture in our series on differential equations using AI and computer algebra systems. So today we're going to be talking about using our two tools together and prompt engineering. So just uh, messing around with what exactly you're going to give Copilot to get the best response. Okay, so what we're going to see is we're going to go through how to use Wolfram Alpha and Copilot together to solve problems better than they could apart. We're going to look at how how you can give Copilot better prompts to get better answers. Some tips on best practices for that, and we're going to see specifically how that goes in a math setting. Yeah. So we're going to be considering this problem here. So just a system of two equations. So if we don't know where to start, we can go to Wolfram Alpha to see what the answer should be, just so we know what we're aiming at. And then it's not going to tell us how it got there. So then we're going to go over to Copilot and uh, see if it can help us with giving us some steps on how we might get there. So you just type it into Wolfram Alpha like so, and it'll uh, verify the input there at the top. It'll classify our system of equations, and then on the fourth slot here, it will give us the solution to that. And then down below is a slope field, or just a curiosity in this case. Uh, but like I said before, big drawback, it doesn't give us any idea on how it got there whatsoever. So now we know what the answer is, so we can double check, our steps after we've completed them. Uh, so yeah, we have no idea how it got there, but Copilot might be able to help us out with that. So we'll give Copilot this prompt. So we're going to ask it, how would you solve that system of equations? But we're going to say, I only want the steps, not the solution. We'll see if we can fill in the blanks. So it's going to break down the problem into a few steps, and then hopefully those are manageable enough for us. So we'll go through solving it and see what kind of answer we get out of this. Okay. So, and this is also a little bit of an example of some prompt engineering because if we're interested in learning how to do this and not just getting the answer, then we'd be more interested in asking, just the steps. I don't need to see the solution. If you just give it this, it will try and solve it on its own and it will give you some sort of an answer. And then it's up to you to double check. But actually, sometimes it can be a little bit trickier to double check its work than just do it on your own because it will very convincingly do work that looks okay, but it might actually not be unless you're paying really close attention. You might not catch that. Okay. So here's our first step. Just solve this very basic just first order, just single equation. So this is sort of first week of the class. You knew how to do this one. So here's, our steps. We separate, integrate, and then solve for x. So no problems there. Uh, Step two is now we're going to, now that we know what x is, we're going to fill it in. So what happens here? Again, no, not too much work here. It's just plugging something in. And then last step is now that we have this, we're going to actually solve that. So now it's just an equation of just y, and uh, here's how that might look. So up at the top is the equation that we have now that we've substituted, and this is a linear inhomogeneous equation. So what we're going to do is split it into the homogeneous part, this YH, and solve for that. It's about the same process as solving for X in the first place, so didn't type out all the steps for that one. So we see that it's, a constant times e to the 4t. And then now we got to get the particular solution. So we're going to guess, in quotes, that yp is going to be some constant times e to the minus t, because that's the inhomogeneous part is an e to the minus t. You could also use a like, variation of parameters here, but this one's an easy enough one to guess. And then we just plug in that YP to our equation and figure out what alpha's got to be. And it looks like it's got to be negative C, where C is our constant from uh, solving for X. So if we put it together, that is the solution that we got. And if you go back and check, that is actually what Wolfram Alpha got too, although they didn't use, big C and big K. They used C1 and C2. So uh, prompt engineering is, like I said, we use specific, uh, you know, tricks to try to get a little bit better response out of Copilot than we might if we just ask it, a broad question, just and leave it up to it to interpret what we want. So, Copilot and other large language models can be very sensitive to exactly what you say. You could ask for the same thing in slightly different wording, and it could give you just totally different things. So what we're trying to do is write good prompts so that we can get good responses. So for example, I have this screenshot here of it's the same system, but if you just said solve the system of equations and put it in there, then that is what you would get. And in this case, it does actually do those steps, and comes to the correct answer. Uh, And you could, maybe it didn't show quite as much detail as I did when I solved it out, but you could ask it for more details. That might be a little bit of prompt engineering as well as, oh, can you elaborate on, step three a bit? And then it will, hopefully give you more correct steps from where it starts in three to where it ends. So now we'll go through a couple examples of that in action. So first example, I uh, asked it to solve the same system of differential equations, but using matrix exponentials rather than not specifying a method. So if you don't specify a method, it's going to just pick some way to do it that may or may not be the most convenient. So sometimes it's a good idea to ask it for a specific one, or if you're trying to understand how a specific method works, then you can ask it to use a certain one of those methods. So here I said, how would you solve this system of differential equations using matrix exponentials? And then I said, I just want the steps. So, and then here it kind of breaks it down for us. So it writes it out as sort of a, matrix and vector equation, and then walks us through it. So we got to find the eigenvalues and eigenvectors of our matrix, and it tells us, it's determinant of A minus lambda I equals 0. Uh, and then says we're going to form a matrix P of the eigenvectors. And that's the columns are those eigenvectors, and we got to find the inverse of that. And then when we do, we can sort of put one on each side of our A, and that will diagonalize our matrix. And then we exponentiate our diagonal matrix, and that's not so hard, as you've seen. And then we just have to put them on both sides to get back. So it's sort of breaks it down. And you could, try and follow these steps, and hopefully each one would not be, too hard to calculate. Uh, okay, and then so here's another example. This one's a little bit more like conceptual than a specific kind of problem. So you're going to be getting into the Laplace transform section of the class, and they're going to talk about some uh, things. One of them is the delta function, and now there's the unit step. But the delta function is actually pretty strange for the stuff that you see in sort of, uh, the calculus series. So you might think like, well, what is this thing? Let me see if Copilot can explain it to me. So if you just say, what is the delta function? Then it'll go through and try to explain it to you. So it's a mathematical construct used all over the place. And it says it's not really a function in the traditional sense, but a generalized function. And okay, well, that's very strange. Never heard of anything like that, right? And then it'll tell you exactly sort of the properties that define it. So the direct delta, is supposed to have this sifting property that's not terminology used in the class, but it's just if you integrate delta times a function, then it will just give you back the value of the function. So it picks out a specific value. And something you probably will hear in this class is it's sort of thought of as it has an infinite peak and zero width. So it's sort of at zero, delta is infinitely high, and everywhere else it is zero. But it's infinitely high in such a way that if you integrate it, you just get the number one. So that's sort of what it's saying there at the end. That integral from negative infinity to infinity is just one. Okay, so that second part's not too different from what you might hear for an explanation in this class. And then now if we look here down in the representation part, uh, here's some stuff that is maybe not quite suitable for this class. That's saying, oh, the delta function be thought of as the limit of these e to the negative x squareds over epsilons as epsilon goes to zero. And it's like, well, that seems kind of strange. And like, what does that mean? And then, oh man, part two after the representation is about, Fourier transforms, and that's not something we're going to talk about in this class. That seems a little high powered for first semester differential equations class. So what we're going to do is just give it a more specific uh, prompt so that it can tell us stuff uh, more at the level that's appropriate for this class. So we'll just say explain it to us first semester differential equation students, and make it snappy, just 3 paragraphs or less. So then it'll write it like this, and it gives us a lot of the same information from the first one, but skips over the like representations that use more high powered math. And you'll notice that it's less in equations, more in just words. So it sort of is more of a conceptual answer than just being like, here's how the thing is defined, and leaving it up to you to try to understand, what those equations actually mean. Okay, well, that's about it for this lecture. So let's summarize what we've talked about so far. So, what is Wolfram Alpha good for? It is very accurate. It can give you graphs and like that slope field, although that's not uh, a large part of differential equations. It's very good for getting the correct answers to things. Like it's good for checking your work, uh, but leaves a lot to be desired in terms of explanation. It doesn't really tell you how it gets there at all. So, what is Copilot or the other large language models good for? Well, something it's not good for is it can be wrong, and you should be suspicious of it at all times when you're trying to get it to do math. Uh, it's extremely sensitive to exactly what you say to it, so you have to, do all this prompt engineering to try to get, the exact result you're looking for. But if you do that, then it can actually be very good at explaining things. So, outside of office hours, this would be an okay place to try to get an explanation on something, or something to try, before you go to office hours, just to see if it's enough to explain it to you. Uh, and just another warning, it is terrible at verifying answers. So in our example today, it was able to do that problem, but it it is very often the case that it will not actually do the problem quite right. Right. So now that you've heard from me, it's time to test it out for yourself. So you can go to Canvas and go to the assignment two, and you're going to practice some prompt engineering. You're going to practice using both of our tools together, and go get it.